Okay, I'm recording.
There you go.
Right, so this is episode 8 of the Topcast Ireland. Topcast, Davey, stands for Truth Over Popularity. And I believe you're a bit of a truth seeker yourself, are you?
Yeah, for sure, man. Truth over popularity. I like it because consensus is not science.
Is that what you believe? Yeah, so the reason I use that concept is, Dave, I think it could have been, I first originally heard Ricky Gervais say, we're living in a world where it's more important to be popular than to tell the truth these days. So that's something that clicked with me, and I said, you know what, that needs to change. So we'll take a step forward in that direction.
All right. Well, you're going to be less popular for a short period of time if you listen to what I'm saying.
You know what, Dave? There's people down my neck.
We're ready for it, Dave. I'm telling you.
This is my good friend Jay.
How's it going, mate?
What's up, Jay?
So I was reaching out to some people for doing some polls and asking on Instagram who believed the Earth was flat, who believed it was a globe.
And what kind of response you get?
It was surprisingly close enough in the polls, but the people who believed that the Earth was a globe were a bit more hostile that I was even asking the questions.
Right. Well, it's the mind programming. They've trained us since we were before we could talk that we live on this this cartoon ball, and it's part of our core belief. And they've literally done a number on us so deep that you get angry when people even challenge it because the brainwashing is just so deep. But only when you look will you finally see. And I refuse to look. When people said, "Hey, Dave, have you looked into the flat Earth?" I was doing a conspiracy podcast, so I'm open-minded. I wouldn't even look. I wouldn't look. And then somebody forced me to look. I said, "That's it. I'm sick of hearing about this. I'm going to prove the globe, disprove flat Earth, and be done with this." 6 years later, here I am talking to you guys and everybody else. And I have the Flat Earth podcast. I've got the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. And this has become my full-time job. So don't try to debunk flat Earth unless you're ready for a life change, like Neo waking up in the Matrix.
Well, you went down that rabbit hole, David. You haven't come back out yet. This fella here, he wants to debunk you, and I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to...
We have a few notes now. We've watched a few YouTube videos now. I've only known about this for 2 weeks. So the last 2 weeks, I've just been I've been taking notes. I've been looking up sides from arguments debunking it, arguments proving it. I'm interested in it. I've watched a few documentaries as well, but the sources say they weren't the best form of information. But that'd be Netflix for you.
Wait, where's the best from the Flat Earth Society, you said?
Yeah. So I seen that one on Netflix, Behind the Curve, and I can see that the kind of narrative they're trying to push was the people and the experiments that they were running weren't of the most validity, we'll say. Do you know what I mean? It made them out to be, you tried to make them out to be quacks rather than actually try to get the facts all out there. And I know a few.
So what are you saying? That you saw that you saw that the movie was deceptive, or are you saying that the flat earthers were deceptive?
I'm saying the movie was a bit deceptive, to be honest with you. I'd say it was
very deceptive.
Yeah, it was kind of trying to sway people to say that all flat earthers were quacks. And one thing I'd say is when I was looking up other videos, I'd seen debates between flat earthers and scientists, was that most of them, they're really intelligent people. They have a stance and they have a belief and they have their own literature and they have their own science to back it up, but they were not dumb by any means, They weren't fools or idiots by any means.
We know coming on here, Dave, that whatever we throw at you, you do this full time. You have an answer for whatever we fucking throw at you here today.
We're amateurs.
When you're on the side of truth, I don't have an answer for everything because I don't know everything. But I do have an answer for, we don't live on a spinning ball. That's scientifically provable. So good. Throw your hardest one at me.
Right, which one do you want to start with?
You go for it.
Right. So here's one thing, because we need to know exactly what are your beliefs. We'll start off with your beliefs, because when I was looking into it as well, there's so many different kind of variations of flat earthers. You don't all agree on the same thing. So I'd like to know what's your perspective and what do you believe in?
Yeah. So, well, what I don't believe in is I don't believe that we're a pancake floating in space like they want you to believe that we believe. That's nonsense, right? What is beyond the shoreline of Antarctica? Well, that's a tough question because no one's allowed to go there. It's completely off limits. And we don't know what's out there. Is there a dome? Is there not a dome? This is the flat Earth. Flat Earth is just like a giant lake. And all of the continents are surrounded by water, but the container of the water is just the land that surrounds the world ocean. Well, that land is Antarctica. And that land is higher. It's the highest land on Earth. That's on the ball. They tell us Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. So Antarctica is the shoreline around Antarctica, around the world ocean. It's a big circle. The last person that tried to circumnavigate it was Captain Cook. It took him over 3 years. He went over 60,000 miles. That there alone proves that we're not on a ball, because they tell us Antarctica is on the bottom of a ball and it's only 13,000 miles around. Well, how did he go 60,000 miles?
So is there anyone living on Antarctica now then?
Yes.
Settlements, people can go there, live there, experience it themselves.
Right here. They live right here. So this is one of the bases, and they live right on the edge here. And they're doing scientific experiments and whatever. There's not a lot of people there. So you can go there on a vacation, right? It costs you a lot of money, 10, 20, 30,000 bucks. And they take you here to this little peninsula, which is bigger than some countries. And they'll show you some penguins and some icebergs. They'll bring you out here. They'll show you a ceremonial South Pole, but you can't verify any of that because compasses don't work and GPS doesn't work. And then they kick you out. Nobody is allowed to go beyond this pink line, which is 60 degrees south, with any extra fuel. So you can't even see Antarctica from there. So circumnavigating it would be very difficult.
And who's on these bases on Antarctica? Who's like preventing people from going beyond?
So the Antarctic Treaty happened in 1959, I believe, and it goes until the year 2041, and all of the countries in the United Nations signed it. All of a sudden, they said, we have to protect the penguins and the ice. We can't drop a cigarette butt here. It's the only thing left that's pristine, right? Admiral Byrd flew out over Antarctica, said there's land bigger than the United States, filled with resources that no one's ever stepped foot on, okay? And then
So he flew over, but if he flew over Antarctica, did he turn around and come back then, or how did that work?
Yeah, so nobody has ever flown over Antarctica and come up the other side. So the world record for, so circumnavigation is on a globe. Circumnavigation on a flat Earth goes like this: the magnetic mountain, or there's a magnetic force. I believe it's a mountain at the North Pole. No one's allowed to go there. If you put a compass down and try to push it east or west, east and west are circles because you have to keep turning because that needle has to always point towards the center. So when you go east and west are circles. That doesn't prove the Earth is a globe because it's the same on a flat Earth or a globe Earth. East and west are circles. It's how a compass works. East and west are circles. If you go in a straight line, every straight line ends up going south. Watch, you're going to dead reckon south right now, and you're going to go in a straight line and heading west or east, whatever direction it was, and now it's going south because when you dead reckon in a straight line, you're going south. What you can't do on a flat Earth is you can't go from Santiago, go across Antarctica and go to Australia. And people say, well, you can't fly over Antarctica. It's too cold, whatever. I don't believe that. You can just go around here at like 50 degrees south and fly there. And there's islands out here that you can land on if there was an emergency. So that excuse doesn't work. But in reality, when a plane flies, it goes, instead of scooting across the bottom, it goes all the way up to America, all the way across and all the way down. And if they want to go to the other side of Australia, they go all the way up. They go all the way over to Europe and Dubai, and then they go down. And it's like, that's crazy. But if you look at that on a flat Earth.
So there's no direct flights between Australia.
No, there are direct flights.
Right.
There are. So but the flight path goes all the way up over to Europe, Dubai, and Australia. It's a straight line. Airplanes fly straight and level over the Earth plane.
Surely that would take.
Well,
7
it
hours.
would take, so it's like, that's a long distance. How do these planes do it? And the answer is there's two things. One, there's Qantas is the only one that has the direct flight. It's often canceled. It's very expensive. There's only, I think, 3 or 4 military pilots that are allowed to fly that airplane. The airplane has 7 layers of heat resistant paint on it. That's interesting. Maybe the airplane's going a little faster than they tell us. So if that airplane, instead of going 550 miles an hour, maybe it's going 750 miles an hour. It flies at a higher altitude, and we know and it's not, I mean, it's not even a secret that there's winds up there that circle the Earth very consistently that go 200-300 miles an hour. So you got a plane that's going 700 miles an hour with a 200-mile-an-hour tailwind. That's 900 miles an hour. Do the math, the flight times work perfectly. The problem is when these flights go, often they're canceled and they're like, oh, we gotta do the old route and do some stops and whatever. They sometimes a flight, when they do go, sometimes there's a 5-hour difference. It's the plane's 5 hours late. What?
How do you know about these cancellation flights and stuff like that? We're always two knuckleheads. We can't validate whatever you have.
Yeah, you got to. Well, you can validate it. You can go and just look at the flights and say, okay, I'm gonna go on this flight and then watch the day when that flight goes, see if it actually went, and find out if it was changed. You know, Max Eigen, who's a great researcher, he actually took the flight, and we did a live stream for the entire flight where we had him at the airport. We proved that he got on an airplane. He streamed in the live stream until the plane took off, and then we watched the plane on GPS. And GPS, not GPS, the flight tracking showed us this, this globy route, right, which didn't make sense. But he was doing compass readings on the flight, and the compass readings only make sense on the flat Earth. He's like, we should have been heading south, but we were heading kind of northwest. And then he was showing his compass wasn't agreeing with what the seat back map was showing. And we laid it out on a flat Earth map. It makes perfect sense. And again, that video is in my app, and you could watch it under What About Antarctica? But all of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about is verifiable. All of the ball stuff, NASA stuff, is unverifiable. Go ahead.
So one thing though, we were saying about if we had this plane, this jet with the heat resistant paint on it, and then if it had the tailwinds going 200-300 miles, so let's say 900 miles. What about the flights going the other direction?
You can go. So
y'all just have little mini tornadoes giving them a little.
No. So the flights in the opposite direction, they actually have a different time. Some of them they have like a 5 hour.
Real quick, this here that you keep doing, throwing all this stuff on the screen. This is brilliant, by the way.
Say that again.
There, Dave. He's applauding you for your digital book.
So here's the map. Thank you. Here's the actual map of what's going on with the air currents right now, and they change over time. See this? Can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
So this little loop here, it's kind of off center right now. They might call that the Polar Vortex. I don't know what they want to call it. But these pink and red winds here, these are like 200-mile-an-hour winds, right? So you leave Santiago, you get into this, you follow this around, and you're in Australia. You leave Australia, you go over here, you follow these winds around, and you come back. Maybe that's why it takes more time when you're going from Australia to Santiago than from Santiago to Australia. And again, when these winds aren't cooperating, then they don't have the route. Sometimes the polar vortex in here, or whatever this ring is going nice and fast. So the airplane will go in here, it'll go through that, it'll go, and follow that and get right over. They change all the time, but they change all the time, but they're kind of consistent. So
the wind is almost constantly in a spiral-like formation around this.
Yeah, they tell us that the winds, the jet stream, when they show us in school how it does that huge sine wave, this never made sense to me. Why does it go up and down like this? But when you chart this on a flat Earth map, it looks like this.
Really nice.
And here's another shot with the winds, that fast wind going out here. So if you leave Santiago, you just go in there, scoot around the edge of Antarctica, and you get over there. These winds are super fast.
Well,
but again,
why hasn't anyone done this then over Antarctica? If the winds are there to carry whatever kind of vehicle that they may be in, why haven't we gone over? Why haven't we seen anything on the other side as well?
Other side? What do you mean other side? Explain.
Like, why haven't we gone further than Antarctica? Why have we stayed within the parameters of it?
No one's allowed to fly over Antarctica. They don't ever allow anyone to fly over Antarctica.
Who's there?
So the world record for southern, north, south. I showed you how east and west circumnavigation works. It's gone. 1 billion people have done it. You fly west and you head from California to to Europe and to the Far East, and then you keep going west and you're back in California. So the world record for east-west circumnavigation is this. They went from up here, North Pole, they came down here to Alaska, West Coast, over to these islands, they went to Santiago, then they went out here, and then they turned around and they went back all the way up and around, right? Does that make any sense to you? Does that look like an actual circumnavigation of the globe? I'm trying to find what it looks like on a flat Earth map for you. It kind of jumped away from me.
It looks like that from landmark to landmark. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So this is
the course there,
not circumnavigation. This is what they did. They went from the North Pole. They went down to California, over here. Then they went over here. They went just here on Antarctica, and they turned around and came back. They got the Guinness Book of World Record for the first southern polar circumnavigation. Why would they lie about this? And they're lying about it just to make people like, hey, people have done it. It's in the world record, Guinness Book of World Records, but no one goes and looks at the actual flight path, right? The flight path proves that they're lying. You can't circumnavigate south. You can't do that because it doesn't exist. Antarctica is the shoreline around the world pond. Now, what's beyond Antarctica? Got me. I mean, maybe we're in a dome inside of another dome inside of another dome. Maybe there's, we live in Middle Earth here. This ring is Antarctica, and these are the extra territories beyond Antarctica.
See, this is what I've made, Dave, right? So see, even the reference there, the Middle Earth, the first thing that comes to my mind is Lord of the Rings. And then when you talk about big ice walls, you think about Game of Thrones, and it's all fantasy and science fiction and stuff like that. And I feel like what may be perceived as a boring reality with galaxies and planets and stars and astronomy, it may be more attractive to believe in something that's more.
Well, it's not about belief. What I'm saying is we don't know what's beyond the shoreline of Antarctica, right? We don't know what's out there. It's not the edge it's the edge of the world ocean. And people say, show me the ice wall. Well, the ice wall isn't the ice wall that the little guy in Game of Thrones can piss off of. It's literally that is mind control. This is the ice wall. It's the shoreline of Antarctica, right? And it goes all the way around it. It's the container of the water of our pond, right? You can't have a mass of water without a container, right? If you had a bathtub and the bathtub disappeared, all the water is going to go away. A pool has a container, a lake has a container, and the world ocean has a container, and that container is the shoreline of Antarctica.
Can you go back to the world map there just real quick and explain, like, how does the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere work? Because obviously when we think southern hemisphere, everyone typically thinks like the weather is a lot warmer, a lot hotter, and in the northern hemisphere it's a lot more kind of tempered to rain and whatnot. And then how does that all fit in with an ice wall surrounding it? How does the weather work in that sense?
So if you look right here, we're at March, and this is the equinox, and this red line here is the equator. This outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn, and the inner yellow line is the Tropic of Cancer. So the sun goes around and it migrates in between those two lines. So if I move the sun to June, which is the summer equinox, the summer solstice, sorry, the sun is over this is the sun's path. And now we are in the inner north, and the sun it's our summer, excuse me. It's our summer because the sun is closer to us, higher in the sky, right?
In terms of the sun, that Dave, like in dimensions and size and everything else, what do you believe the sun is?
That is a great question. Let me just finish this and then I'll answer that. So if I jump the sun out 6 months to December, the Australia is having its summer because the sun is higher in the sky, closer to them, and we're having our winter because the sun is farther away. You with me?
So far, yeah.
If you had two airplanes in the sky, that are paralleling each other at the same altitude, and one of them was right over your head, and the other one was 50 miles to the south. The one over your head is your summer sun, right? The one out south is your winter sun, farther away, looks lower in the sky.
And how big is the sun? How does it work? Is it within this dome that we're in then, or is it outside the dome? How does this work?
So that's a great question. Again, anything that's over our head, we don't know. But if you look at the sun, does this sun look like it's 93 million miles away? It's got a hot spot right underneath it. This is from 100. This is from a, what's that?
Where's the footage from?
This is from a 120,000 foot balloon.
Right, yeah.
So.
Right, so.
Do you see where you say, according to the map that you showed there, in December months when the sun is on the outer sort of southern hemisphere going around by Australia,
Yeah.
Is that very, very, very close to those ice capsules that they should be melting a little bit quicker?
It's not that close.
It's not.
No.
But on the map, it looks a lot closer from the center.
Well, it's close, but it's not that close. And when the sun is out there, our inner north freezes. We're covered with snow, so it's not that close.
Right, and how does the sun?
And because the sun is moving faster out there, the weather's totally different. You know, at 60 degrees north, there's animals and trees and plants. At 60 degrees south, there's nothing except penguins.
Right. So the next question, I'm sure it's probably one of the most common one you get, and for me, it's hard to get my head around, and it's something I will struggle to accept. Is that in order for this to be one big lie, there are so many different people and different lines of work and fields of experts that have to be in on it. We're talking astronomers, we're talking pilots, we're talking geologists, we're talking.
Well, that's a fallacy. There are a lot of people in on it, but most pilots don't know. The teachers that teach astronomy are the ones that memorize and regurgitate the information the best, and that is controlled information. They say 50,000 people work at NASA. I say 500 people work at NASA, and half of them don't know. Right? There are a good number of people. People can't keep a secret. The people that are in the know, they look at us as peasants, as a different race at this point, and not a different race, a different species, right?
Who do you believe those people are there?
Well, it's the banking families, the royal families. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice.
The world, yeah.
The elite, the ones, and they have their marching orders too from people that we don't even know.
And the next question is probably the most common one you get. What do they benefit from the light?
Yeah. So if they can convince you that you're a random accident from a big bang flying through an infinite universe, spinning out of control, where an asteroid could take you out at any moment, where you have no control over your life, where there's so much fear from nuclear bombs to asteroids to running out of food, running out of dinosaur juice for our cars. They control us with money. It's all about control. But if you woke up tomorrow and knew that you were at the center of creation, then nobody has dominion over you. I don't know what it's like in Ireland there, but whatever the restrictions are that you guys may be following, it's all in your head.
That seems like you're talking more about kind of perception of freedom and morality, but like the idea of the earth being a globe or being flat doesn't really change that for me.
Yeah, it does actually, because when you there are people that are thriving and believe they live on a ball, and that's fine, but they're missing out on the true power. What they don't want, if everyone woke up tomorrow and knew that their thoughts create their reality and that they can live free and don't have to listen to authority, as long as they follow what I call God's law, which is don't murder anybody, don't steal from anybody, help your neighbor, and don't break anyone else's free will, the whole world would be a different place. There was a worldwide community.
Whether we're on a disc or on a globe, people can live like that now.
Well, they could, but most people are living in fear, and when you live in fear, you become more nihilistic and you become selfish. Or some people do. So they don't want you in a position where you can't deny that there's a creator, that we live in the center of creation, right? They don't want everybody knowing that your thoughts create your reality. It's literally mind control, and people are literally having Stockholm syndrome, which is they're defending their capture. They're imprisoners. The globe is a prison for your mind, right? There's more here. There's no food shortage, right? There's not. You can take a seed that your grandfather put in a jar 50 years ago, stick it in the dirt, then water will fall from the sky, the most valuable substance on earth, and food will grow out of the ground. There's no food shortage. There's no nothing. They have us fighting each other. They've divided us by countries, by religions, by races, by political parties, by sports teams, by genders. And now they have us don't touch each other, don't look at each other. Everyone is that healthy person. If they get within 6 feet of you, you could die, right? This is insanity. They're literally dehumanizing us. So when you, and by the way, the shape of the earth does not matter. It's the lie that matters. It's the lie of who you are and the power that you have. Because if people, you don't have the saying, we are the many, they are the few. That's wrong. We are the many, they are nothing. They're nothing. And everyone thinks that they're everything and thinks that they have to obey. Why the lie? Do you enjoy working a third or more of the year for taxes? Right? Do you enjoy that? Right? People pay a third of their labor. What's that? Well, there's so many. Yeah, there's so many reasons why this matters. It's beyond what you can fathom.
Right. So that would mean though that maybe not all the countries, but all the countries that have space programs. So there's about a dozen or 13 space programs around Europe, Asia, Russia, China, America, but then all the privatized ones like Blue Origin.
Yeah, they're not private. They're just so you can't do FOIA requests against them. They're all in it together. There is no space. This is us landing on Mars the other day. This is what they showed us. A bunch of these people fresh out of space camp. This is the video that they're watching. Okay. This is what they showed us. Okay. Does this prove anything other than somebody has some South Park quality graphics on their computer? Okay. This is what they showed us. This is proof that we just landed on Mars. You're laughing because it's ridiculous, but people believe it. Look, wait, we're getting ready. These guys are going to be. My question is, this is clearly an animation, right? Clearly, but they don't say that it is. The people that were in that room watching this, right? Look at the intense looks, right? This is a video production, right? When it landed, when they got the data that it landed, what if the data said it crashed? Did they have an animation of it crashing ready? Right? This is what they showed us. This is why people believe we're on Mars. Okay.
If space is not real, then we're saying space isn't real, right?
Correct.
Right. If space isn't real, then what's the explanation for, let's say, an asteroid?
There are no asteroids.
But then what about, there's proof of craters on the planet.
Craters. So every asteroid that hit Earth, hold on, I'll answer you. Every crater that hit Earth hit at a 90-degree angle because all of those craters are circular. Look up, what is it? Siberia methane craters. There's methane craters, that methane that comes up out of the Earth. There's plasma events that happen that bubble through the Earth and they create these exact holes. But look at a pot of boiling mud, right? It creates these round craters. And every time we see an asteroid or meteor, a big meteor that's hitting the Earth, whatever they want to call it, it comes in at a ridiculously shallow angle, right? And some dash cam caught it in northern Russia, right? Always where no one can verify anything. That's just a weapon or something, and that it's just to control your mind. There are no asteroids.
What about the craters on the moon then? What are they?
Well, the craters on the moon could be the same thing. I don't believe the moon is a physical object. I mean, this is proof we went to Mars. This is Devon Island. This is Mars.
Yeah, right? Can't skip over that there.
Can't just skip. You can't say the moon. Like my family have a telescope out the back, big huge one there.
Oh, I can see the moon too. Let me tell you.
Like you can zoom in. I can actually see the craters in the moon when I look at it,
Absolutely, I'm with you. And they appear to be craters. Maybe those are bubbles also, whatever the moon is. Here's the problem, right? On a full moon night, excuse me. on a full moon night, the moon is so bright you can read by it. Would you agree with that?
Well, I don't know. We live in the city, so it's light pollution.
Well, if you're away from the city, a clear night, full moon,
Yeah.
you can read by it.
I'll agree with that.
This is what they tell us the moon is. This dusty, dirty ball is shedding this light all the way back to Earth so bright you can read by it. There's a thing called the inverse square law of light. Every time you double the distance, every time you half a distance, it gets 4 times brighter. So if I'm on Earth, this is probably like 25 lumens, but I'm gonna say it's 1 lumen just to give the moon every benefit of the doubt. Go halfway to the moon, it's 4 lumens. Cut that distance in half, it's 16 lumens. Keep doing that till you're 100 miles away. It's like 10 million lumens, which would melt your eyeballs, right? This is not 10 million lumens. The inverse square law of light proves that this is a liar. This is not the moon. We clearly didn't go to the moon. And now what is the moon? Something we see in the sky. But when the moon is new, it's gone. No one has ever seen a new moon. Well, when there's a new moon, the new moon is when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun. So if I'm on the dark side of the moon is facing the Earth, that's what they tell us, right? But if you were on the moon looking at the Earth, you have a full Earth, like a full moon, because the sun is lighting up the Earth. Well, the Earth is 6 times bigger than the moon. I say it's a lot shinier than the moon. It's got oceans and stuff. How come the Earth shine doesn't light up the moon so somebody can see it, at least with an infrared camera from the space station, from an airplane? Nobody has ever seen the moon during when it goes new for the shortest time is over 42 hours, I think, which is almost 2 full days. No one has ever seen it. So what is it? I don't think it's a physical object. I think it's being projected into our reality. And,
how? In what way?
What you're describing, Dave, sounds like the Truman Show.
Look, the True Man Show. Very interesting. Let me share a video with you.
Oh.
So here's the app, and let me get this out of the way. So if you go into the frequently asked questions and you say, what about eclipses, right? So if you go to the eclipses, these are videos that YouTube will not feed you, and I'll hit this one. And so this is during an eclipse. Somebody filmed this, and we saw this thing right here, locked to the sun. This is a lens flare. What is this? Because the sun was this amount eclipsed. You just can't see it because it's blowing out the lens. But the sun was like, 85% eclipsed. And what is this? Why are we seeing this? What is it? My belief is that's the source of the sun, and it's outside of the dome, and it's projecting into what I call the sky screen. And that's where we see the sun, in our sky. So it's being projected through a lens of the firmament. So how can I demonstrate this, right? So it's not a lens flare because it was locked in position to the sun, unlike this lens flare here that's going around. So, so I did an experiment right here where I have a projector behind this paper towel, which I'll call the sky screen, and I'm eclipsing it with a new moon that has no light on it. The reason we don't see the moon approach is because there's no light being projected onto the sheet. It's just blocking the sun. So it's eclipsing the sun, right? And when it leaves the sun, you don't see it leave. You just see the eclipse. This is when we watch an eclipse, no one has ever seen the sun approach the disk or exit the disk. They just see it going. And that's because there's nothing to project into our reality. If the moon was lit a little bit, we would see it coming because it would be projected into our reality. So then when I saw that one with the little eclipse next to it, I said, hey, maybe the screen I was using wasn't transparent enough. So here's one I did, the same thing with a thinner paper, and look, the same exact thing happened. There's the projector right here. This is the projector behind the screen, and this is what we see. It's the same thing. Okay.
Would that not have something to do with what do you call it? Light fraction?
Light refraction?
Light refraction.
That's just a word. You're just saying a word that has, light refraction. What does that mean?
Light refraction is when light passes from one
I know what light refraction is. It just has it doesn't it has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
So
I think it applies more to, I think when flat earthers say they see ships out in the distance over a certain distance, and by the law of physics or maths that it should have disappeared over the curve, but they say that the light refraction, it bends the light, so
yeah,
we'll see it. But I mean,
so
clips there where the boats have disappeared from bottom up.
So science, globe science, says that this boat is being refracted into the air. Right. It's floating in the air, right? And they give us all the math and tell us how it's doing that it's not really floating in the air. But it's not. This is such a simple illusion, and they don't see it. The illusion is this right here is not the horizon. There's a breeze blowing on the water here, and there's just smooth water here. There's the real horizon. This is just smooth water. So you can cruise along the water, cruise all the way out. There's the horizon, right? It's not floating in the air. These are just, and they call that refraction. Yes, there are things like superior mirages. This is not a mirage. You're looking at the boat sitting on the water. That's it. You crank up the contrast in this thing. You can even see little waves on this flat, glossy water. And because the sky doesn't have any clouds and it's very uniform, it's reflecting the sky on the smooth water, right? But the whole world, all of science is freaking out, saying this is this is refraction, and it's because of the cold inversion and the temperature and the humidity. It's not. It's just a simple illusion. So it happens all the time.
So then, like, how far can we see if we had a telescope? Let's say we were on top of the
Not far at all. Very good. Good question. So this is a spot in Aluja, France, very famous spot, because when you look out here, Mount Canigou is out here 175 miles away. And from this elevation, the distance of 175 miles, the height of Mount Canigou, the very top of that mountain should be a mile below the horizon if this was a physical horizon here. But remember, the sun migrates in between the two tropics. And there's 2 days a year where the sun lines up with this viewing spot and Mount Canigou. And on those 2 days, the light that's coming off of Mount Canigou is not strong enough to push through the thickness of the atmosphere. But on these 2 days a year, the sun is strong enough to push through, and it starts going beyond Mount Canigou, and all of a sudden you can see it. The very top of Mount Canigou here should be a mile below a physical curve, but it's not. And we can see the entire mountain.
So what's the distance between that photo and the mountain there, or the camera in the photo there?
175 miles.
And what's the kind of the level of the angle of the curvature of the Earth supposedly then? And what distance? That 60 miles then would it be? Is it
so I don't know I don't know the actual height of the observer, but if you go into the web button here, you hit the curvature calculator, and we say, let's say that they were at I don't know, 500 feet, or 650 feet, and we'll go 175 miles, 175. Calculate, there should be 13,000 feet of hidden land, right? So whatever it is, it's all there. And when you look at the profile of Mount Canigou, you will see that we're seeing the entire mountain. Here's another one. This one might help you see.
That whole image overland, Dave. Yeah, there's no water there at all.
That's just water.
That's just water.
Yeah. So,
well, has there been images done from just land?
What's that?
Have you got any images of just land where you can see the likes of things that can explain that the color?
Yeah, well, the problem is with land, there's physical features that will block things. But there is a famous sunset from Africa. Where is it? Where it was on a high, dry plain. Here it is. And this is super sped up. The sun doesn't go down. It just goes away, right? It's not going down. This is sped up like, 1,000%, and it should be going down, but it's not. It's going away on its journey around the Earth. It's just going away. Here's another one, and this one
It
absolutely.
looks like it's going down. Like it looks like.
Well, it appears like it's going down because it's going away. It's just perspective. Perspective makes everything look like it's going down. Here's one that proves it, and you can do it yourself. You need a drone. You need a clear day. This is over land. You have to do it when it's like freezing out, so there's no humidity in the air, and it has to be perfectly clear. My drone was up here. The sun was up here, and in 5 minutes time, the sun just went down. And if the Earth was spinning, it would just keep going, but it didn't. It went down, 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 and then it stopped, and it sat there for 10 minutes. This is sped up 2,500%. And instead of going down, it just faded away. It just went into the thickness. Here it is again, back and forth. It's still there. You just can't see its light anymore. Okay. It takes its light with it.
So obviously then, what's the density of the atmosphere? Why can't light penetrate through the atmosphere?
Well, it's like water. If you're in a big swimming pool and somebody was at the far end of the pool, you can't see them underwater just because the light can't push through. Now, the sun is the brightest light in the sky. A mountain is just reflected sunlight, that's going off of it, but the sun is way brighter. That's why we can see the sun past Mount Canigou, but we can't see the reflected light off of it. It's just not strong enough to make it to you. Right. So here's the sun that's just going away. I put these clouds in here.
If the sun is always floating above this disk, why does it, as the further it goes away, it looks like it starts to go down? Why does that perception start to happen?
So next time you go outside, and when you see an airplane that's directly over your head, watch it fly away. It looks like it's going down, but it's staying at the same altitude. And within 20 miles, it looks like it's touching the horizon. Go watch when you have a day of nice cumulus spotted clouds in the sky, and you can clearly see them sitting at a deck, 5,000, 10,000 feet. The ones over your head are over your head, and the ones 20 miles away are touching the water. Literally in 20 miles, you can't see the difference between a cloud and the water. And that's just due to perspective.
Well, is that not because?
So on the app, where does the sun go? I have 100 videos showing you how that works, I have illustrations, I have videos, I have explanations, and show you how to do it yourself.
Right, okay. And how close then would the sun be to the planet or to Earth?
Great question. Today's featured video on the app, by the way, is about the Gleason's map and how we can calculate where the sun is. Now, I think the sun that's above the firmament might be 8,000 miles away, but that doesn't mean we see the sun 8,000 miles away. I think we see the sun literally right over our heads as because it's being projected into our system. When you go up, the sun goes up. When you go left, the sun follows you. We all see the sun in an apparent position. Here's a shot from, I think it's like 80,000 feet. It's daylight over here. The sunlight is over here. It's fluorescing the nitrogen in the sky, which fluoresces blue. And the people over here are in pitch black, right? Because the sun's light can't reach there. Daylight and sunlight are two different things.
But that looks like sun that's coming up from, that looks like light that is coming up from the horizon. That looks like it's rising.
Yeah, it looks that way, but it also, if you look at it on a flat earth, it looks the same way. Your programming is telling you that. If I took a flat earther and a ball earther up to, let's say we can get up to 300,000 feet. I don't know if you can. And they look down, the glober is going to see a ball because they see everything in a circle. And the flat earther is going to go, I realize that my eyes see the same distance in all directions when conditions are the same. And I see in a circle, but a flat circle.
Is that not a bit dogmatic to say that if we were up there, say the three of us went up there, 300,000 feet, and we were all looking at the same thing, that myself and Tom, we're going to see a round Earth, but you're still going to see a flat Earth? Is that not a bit dogmatic to say that?
Well, it is, but the reason is when you're standing, like if you're on a little island in the middle of the ocean, and you look out where the sky meets the ground, that is perspective, and that's the limit, that's the point, that's a vanishing point. And if you're looking, let's say at 12 o'clock, let's say that's 10 miles, 30 miles, 300 miles, doesn't matter. Whatever distance it is, That's how far you can see. At 1 o'clock, you're seeing the same distance. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, all the way around. If you plotted that on a flat Earth, it's a circle, right? And because you see this circle, you see a globe, but it's really just a circle.
Okay.
It's all because of brainwashing, and not understanding what you're seeing.
Well, I'm easily led, so it's
We
okay.
can see too far.
What a theory that where does it end? Like where does, but like I mean, what these I know he's have no idea. It could be a globe within a globe within a globe. But what happens if you dig down? What's under the surface?
Yeah, so the deepest hole ever dug is called the Great Borehole in Russia, and it just goes about 7.5 miles. Maybe they've drilled oil a little bit deeper than that, but they hit something and they couldn't get through it. They couldn't get it. They tried for years and they never got through it. While they were digging this hole, they used ground penetrating radar to see what they were going to hit next, and they were wrong every step of the way. Right, the ground penetrating radar was wrong. It was useless. And maybe it could find a rock 10 feet below them, but that's about it, right? So the ground penetrating radar is wrong. That's equivalent to a drilling, if the Earth was an apple, drilling halfway through the skin. And while they were drilling, all of their guesses were wrong. But somehow we know what's the next 4,000 miles to the core. This is a meme that has zero scientific evidence behind it. And they also tell us that this magnetic molten core is where the magnetic field comes. Guess what? You heat a magnet up, it loses its magnetism.
Well, it's the magnetism not formed on the outside of the planet just because of the rotation of the core, not with the core itself.
Cool story, bro.
Okay.
I've heard that.
And okay, so what's on like this flat disc? Like how far does it go? Like what's on the other side?
Anyway, so hold on.
We can't go beyond this line. Nobody is allowed out there, right? So what's out here? I don't know. Maybe the real controllers of this world. Maybe God is out there. Maybe there's giants out there. We don't know. No one's allowed to go there.
Where does the molten lava come from when
molten lava?
Where does when volcanoes
eruptions?
Yeah. So one, there are no cone-shaped mountains spewing out lava. That doesn't exist. It's only in movies. Right? Look it up. That one freaked me out. Right? But there is lava. There's lava too.
Like Mount St. Helens eruption.
Mount St. Helens, it was an explosion, and who knows what that is? That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But let's talk about lava. You asked about lava. What is lava? Lava is pretty much like melted rock, melted earth. And how do you make lava? Well, it's really difficult to make it with fire and pressure. What you can make it with is with electricity, right? So the earth is a electrical system. The sun and the moon are the anode and cathode of the earth battery, and they're sending electricity to earth, right? Here's a lava for you made with electric. These are electric current, and it turns it into lava. Okay. So you know that scientists don't know how solar panels work. They have this whole made up story, but they're like, it's just a theory. They don't know how it works, right? I'll tell you how it works. The sun is a Tesla coil, like a Tesla coil. It is sending electricity to Earth, and the solar panels are just gathering that electricity and running it into currents. It's that simple, but the science can't see it because they're brainwashed into thinking that the sun's a burning ball of hydrogen, 93 million miles away, when in fact, it's like a Tesla coil. You have a Tesla coil, it'll light up light bulbs without connecting them. If you got a house plant and put it in front of a fireplace and another one and put it in front of a set of lights, the one in front of the lights will grow and the one in front of the fireplace will shrivel up and die, right? So all of this electricity is coming to the earth. The earth is like a giant battery, right? The oceans, the salt water carries the current. The land is the salt bridge, and the sun and the moon are the anode and cathode of the battery. So all of this electricity is in the earth, and then it's like a capacitor, and the capacitors will connect to each other electrically. Like when you get too close to an electric thing, it could arc and get you. Well, those arcs go through the ground and create lava tubes and melt the rock. And I'm showing you right here. This is how you make lava with electricity.
And what is he melting there? What is that? Just rocks?
Those are rocks.
Just purely just an electrical current. What's that material there that's on? Just
they're in that's a piece of ceramic, and they just ran electricity through it and melted the rocks into lava.
Okay, and just one thing about the moon and the sun. How do you know? Like, how do you test for the distance that they are from the?
So, yeah, so here's the problem. If they were a physical object, we should be able to triangulate them. The science says they're 93 million miles away, and the way they did that was one day the Venus, which is about the same size as Earth, transited the moon, and they watched it from the East Coast and the West Coast, and they started and ended at different times, and then they did some math, and they figured out the sun is 93 million miles away. The problem with that equation is they assumed Venus is the size of the Earth. Okay. I say Venus is the size of a basketball. Prove me wrong. Okay. And you can't. You can't. I don't know what size Venus is. I don't know what Venus is. But, if you look at Mars through P1000 telescope, on a camera, this is what Mars looks like. That doesn't look like a dusty, dirty, red rock like they show us. Right? You look at stars, this is the star Arcturus, right? That's not a burning ball of hydrogen trillions of miles away. I mean, scientifically provable, the distance that stars are beyond impossible to see. I could explain it if you want.
Well, yeah, I don't understand it. Like, what are stars? What's the night sky? How does all that work then? Are they all within this dome? Are they roughly the same distance from as the sun and the moon? From Earth.
The Earth is the basement of the universe, is the basement of the world, and everything we see in the sky is within the Earth system. Small, close, connected.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Are you a religious man, Dave?
No.
Do you believe in a creator? Do you believe in God?
I believe there is a creator because the Earth is intelligently designed, right? So for the Earth, we're taught that the Earth is a random accident after a big bang, and lightning struck and created an amoeba that turned into a fish that grew legs, that found another fish that grew legs, and they mated and had a monkey, and the monkey had a retarded baby, and it was a human, right? That's insanity, right?
Well, that's oversimplifying a little bit there, Dave.
What's that?
That's oversimplifying a little bit.
Oh, I'm simplifying it because, but that's the story that they teach us. And
I could argue that billions of years of evolution from the start to the Big Bang. And I'm not saying...
So my story went over billions of years. So never in the history of anything does a mutation make something better. Okay. How did your human eye form? I mean, think about the complexity of the human eye. It's insane, right? So none of that's a random accident. The Earth, when you understand what it is, it's intelligently designed. Who designed it? I don't know. Whatever, that's everyone's personal journey. I don't know if I'll ever figure it out, but it's intelligently designed. So there is a creator. And the fact that we are here in this magical place, I believe that we all have a soul, and that soul is a piece of God within us. And our mind is here to expand the mind of God. We're having this experience in this realm. And our only goal is to maintain control of our soul. And this, there's evil here that is trying to steal your soul. That's it.
And you believe that the people who are trying to get us to conform to the idea of a globe Earth, they're the ones trying to see ourselves?
Those are the people that are controlling the world. They don't want us to know the true power that we have. Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
So let me ask you guys a question. What's your number one reason you think the Earth is a globe?
Well, look, I've always been open about it and honest. One of the things I did when I set the post the other day, and one of the things I live by, Dave, is the greatest thing I know is that I know nothing. And I try to keep an open mind to everything. And
that's awesome.
The second question I asked in after the first poll was, which do you believe, flat Earth or globe Earth? The second question I asked then is, why do you believe it? And the options I gave there was one, because I know shit, and the other one was because it's what I was told.
Right.
And the people who said I know shit, I asked them to elaborate. None of them elaborated because they didn't know shit. But it's like,
so I get to the end of these shows, and then people say, Dave, that's some interesting stuff, but I still believe the Earth is a globe. And I say, well, what's your number one proof? Just give me, what's the one thing that makes you believe the Earth is a globe? And they go, I don't know right now, but I still believe it.
Yeah,
And
well,
that's called cognitive dissonance.
I think it's I think I heard it saying
See-
that it's intellectually lazy to just automatically believe everything you see, but it's also intellectually lazy to deny everything you see as well, or everything you hear. You know, so it's equal. You have to.
I do not know you know what? There's so much I don't know that my life will never be boring because I'm learning new stuff every day. But I do know that the impossibility of the cartoon pantomime world that they say we live in is nonsense. It's provable nonsense. We're running out of time, but I actually got a minute, and before my voice goes, I want to run a number game through your head to make you understand how ridiculous the heliocentric model is. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. How long do you think 1 trillion seconds is? How long?
Give me a second.
In what?
Just
Like,
take a guess. If you do the math, you'll figure it out, but you probably can't do it in your head. How long in days, weeks, whatever you want to measure it in years?
Probably thousands of years.
How many?
I don't know, like 3,000 years or something.
Okay. You?
100 years.
1 trillion seconds. I'm talking seconds.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess about
100 years.
3,000 years or something.
31,000 years.
I was close.
Okay.
Really, I should have added an O. I should have added an O.
By the way, you guessed closer than anyone I've ever asked that question to. So 31,000 years. That's crazy. Think about that. All right. So now let's let me show you a little thing. So the sun is this giant ball, like one of those giant yoga balls, and the earth is a small marble next to it, right?
Right.
In the heliocentric model. So if I brought the yoga ball right above your head, a mile over your head, you look up in the sky, it fills the entire sky, right?
Yeah.
Right? What happens when you bring something into the distance? Like if this is the yoga ball filling the sky and I move it away, it gets smaller and smaller. So we move the sun 93 million miles away and it's this small now, right? It's the size of a coin held at arm's length, right? If I made it 8 times farther, do you think you can see it?
It's still, yeah, probably could still say it, yeah.
Scientifically, provably, you can't, because it reduced from the entire sky to this. And so it's going to keep reducing, and its angular size is going to get too small for your eye to see. If I doubled the distance, you probably couldn't see it. But we're going to just go 8 times farther. And we're going to call that distance, I can no longer see the friggin' sun anymore because it's too far distance. All right. So remember that distance. Right. So now they tell us that there's 100 billion stars in our galaxy and we can see them. You know, you go out on a clear night and on the top of a mountain, you can see these stars. Some are bigger, some are smaller, some are just like our sun, right? The closest one, the closest star, ready, is 40,000 times farther than the I can't see the friggin' sun because it's too far distance. Okay. And the other stars are magnitudes farther than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Centauri, I think, is the one you're talking about. It's the closest.
What's that? Alpha Centauri. Right. Look at you. You're memorizing your bullshit really well.
Yeah, I've been ready for you. But is that not only obviously on a clear night that we can see them? Obviously, when there's less what we call light pollution. Like, for instance, even when you're in the city,
forget it. I'm talking about a clear night. Remove the entire atmosphere. You could not see 40,000 times farther than the I can't see the sun distance. And we can see.
How can you prove that? How can you test that?
You can, because you take a penny, right? And this is a penny. It's, you know, it's right in front of your eye. It's huge. And I think the distance that you can see a penny is, I don't know, 1,000 feet or whatever it is. Its angular size gets so small. So, you know, when 360 degrees goes around you, so this is 180 degrees. And now my hand is, I don't know, maybe 5 degrees, right? I keep going. When it gets to 0.02 degrees, you can't see it anymore, right? But if you zoom in on it, it makes it bigger, right? A boat disappears in the horizon,
yeah.
But then you zoom in and there it is again.
True, but there's two things there. One, the penny's not illuminating light, though. I mean, light, you know, we can interact.
I'm with you. So there's a distance that you can see a candle flame. And I forget what that distance is. It might be a mile or 2 miles or whatever it is, but then you can't see it. And there's also the inverse square law of light. Every time you double the distance, it's a quarter of the brightness. So how friggin' bright does that star have to be 40,000 times farther then I can no longer see the sun because it's too small distance or too far.
There's neutron stars and all that other bullshit.
Neutron stars. Where do you have any receipts for neutron stars? Can you show me proof of a neutron star? These are stories. Listen, these are wonderful stories. I love these stories, right? Space, Star Wars. But guess what? Extraterrestrials, aliens, they're all coming from across the Earth plane. They're all here. They can leave their homes in the morning, invade us, abduct one of us, and go back for dinner, okay? Into the outer space, right? Whatever it is, whatever you want to believe, that's fine. But they're here on the Earth system.
So you believe anywhere, if there is extraterrestrial life, it's coming from this planet?
It's coming from this realm. Maybe I did a talk with it's on my YouTube channel, DITRH, and it's called The Outward Flow of Civilizations. And it's about how maybe the previous civilizations, the Incas and the Mayas and the Aztecs, they all moved outwards with their sun. And they moved to the extra terra beyond here. There is maps of Antarctica not having ice on it. When was that? If you look into Tartaria was a worldwide advanced civilization that was here in the 1800s. They had airships bigger than aircraft carriers, right? And they've built things all across this plane that are unbelievable, that are still here right in front of our eyes, and we're not seeing them. You probably have buildings in your town that were supposedly built in the 1800s. Go look at some of these buildings. We couldn't build them today with our greatest cranes, but they did it with horses and buggies. I mean, the lies of what's going on in this world of our history. There was some sort of cataclysm probably in the late 1800s that wiped out civilization. Whether the civilization moved outwards or was completely wiped out, don't know the answer. But the people that took it over in the early 1900s hijacked our world from us. And so the reason that I am out here talking to people like you and everybody else is, if we ever get our freedom back, how long are we going to be able to hold it if we're lost in space, spinning out of control, and don't know who we are?
Before I let you go, 2 questions. Are you a flat earther who doesn't believe in dinosaurs? Do you believe dinosaurs existed?
Do I believe that dinosaurs existed? Of course, I have a picture of a dinosaur right here. Okay, they have to exist.
So that's a no.
So I believe there was some big lizards, right? But the Tyrannosaurus Rex, all of this stuff, it's all nonsense. They're finding like a whale bone on the top of a mountain, one vertebrae, and they extrapolate, an entire dinosaur out of it. The guy in the royal family guy that came up with the idea of dinosaurs in the 1800s, late 1800s, I think, or maybe, yes, I think that's when it was. He wrote a book or a paper on the idea of dinosaurs. Now, with all of the ancient history, pyramids, everything, there was no one ever mentioned finding a dinosaur. This guy wrote a paper on it, and a year later to the day, he discovered the first dinosaur.
Well, surely you would have been looking.
A year later to the day, he found the first dinosaur. No one in all of history had ever mentioned a dinosaur before that. It's all so this is it. This is the brainwashing of our kids. They send them to school and they teach them about what? The orbits of the planets and the moon, and they teach them about dinosaurs and how an asteroid blew up the dinosaurs. What does that do to a kid? It disconnects them from the creator, and it puts fear in them that an asteroid can destroy them at any moment.
Right, before you go, right, so what I wanted to ask you then is coming on here, speaking to people like us, everyday people who I will put my hands up and I will say I know fucking jack shit when it comes to any of this. I can't validate anything you say. I can't.
Well, that's not true. You can.
Anything you say. Well. Off the top of my head, I mean, sitting here right now, on live on camera, I can't validate it right now, or I can't discredit anything you say because, well, for one, you're a good talker. You articulate yourself.
You know your shit.
You're prepared. You're prepared.
It's not that hard. The truth is easy. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, right. But is there anywhere that I could find you talk with someone who would be qualified or have credentials in some of these other fields, or class themselves as experts or scientists, where it's someone who actually gives you a run for your money rather than
So we've been trying to get Neil deGrasse Tyson, the high priest of scientism, and Bill Nye, the lying guy with the bow tie, and lying box, and all of those people that are out there pushing the heliocentric nonsense, right? The heliocentric soul lure system. They're literally telling us what it is, right? They're trying to steal your soul. They're trying to steal God from your body, right? They're literally, it's these guys will not talk to us, right? They will not.
You say that that's trying to steal God from the body, but like majority of the planet are religious and believe in a God in one way, shape, or form.
Well, they've separated all of the religions, so everyone's fighting against each other. My God's a real God. My God's a real God. Is that really a godly way to be? I don't fight with anybody. There's a creator. Whatever you think your creator is, you deal with it. That's your journey. It's not my journey. I'm not here to tell you if you don't accept Jesus, you're going to hell, right? And people that do that just scare people away, right? You're just pushing people away. I'm not religious. I believe there's a creator. I believe that I am a divine creation, and I can prove it. I mean, I'm having a great time. My life is amazing.
When I became a father there last year for the first time, and that was a moment when I kind of felt like I have the ability to create life.
Think about this.
It's something weird. Now, that was a special feeling, but it was like I can make it. Like it's almost like it's looked over and blown over really quickly. Like it's not such a big deal. But I think it's crazy.
It's crazy, the spark of life. So what is all of that? It's not a random accident. There is a force behind it. And that's your journey to figure that out. And you will. Congratulations on being a father. Hey, do you guys have masks? People wearing masks there?
Yeah.
How come you guys aren't wearing masks? Oh, you're a masker? You're a masker? I've never put on a mask.
I'll be honest with you, right? When I'm at work, I'm a personal trainer. I don't wear them. Okay? And when I go to the shops for two reasons, right? To avoid the controversy of having to explain myself for not wearing one.
Strap on some balls and get into the controversy, my friend. So hold on. You know, there's the religious freedoms. You know, people wear turbans for religious reasons. Some people veil their faces, right? Yep. This is my religion. See this smile? You know the power of a smile? You ever see a smile? What, you know, like you're walking down the road and a girl smiles at you, you know, let's say you're a single guy, changes your whole day, could change your whole life, right? The power of a smile can only be created by God, right? How does showing your teeth that chew food, how does that change someone's day where a smile stops people from killing themselves, right? They're trying to hide our smiles. They're disconnecting us from the creator, from each other. You know, every single relationship, your wife, how did you meet?
We met I was teaching a spin class in a gym, and she came. And
did she smile at you?
No, she nearly passed out.
Okay, but then
I had to get down and see if she was okay, and then it was a friendly encounter. But then
and you smiled at each other. If you were wearing masks, might not have happened.
Might not have happened.
Yeah. You're buying a cup of coffee, and the cute girl behind the thing, you smile, she smiles at you, and then you exchange numbers. Every relationship starts with a smile, and they're stealing that from us. They want to depopulate the world in a big way. And if we don't snap out of it soon and strap on some balls and take off the friggin' mask, right? You know, if everyone took off their masks tomorrow, it's over.
I'm with you on some of the philosophical and political points that you're making there. I'm definitely with you on that. But when it comes to the earth, I just don't see what the fuck it matters. And I know you said yourself, it doesn't really matter. But,
it does. It's all about mind control. It's all about just controlling you, you know, making you feel insignificant and not knowing where you are, really.
So like how much would you say, just real quick, what's the number? What's the amount of, like, how many trillions of dollars they put into trying to keep everyone to conform to this ideal? How much power is really behind it? Like, how
much is a dollar worth? You know what a dollar is truly worth? As much of a kindling as it is to light a fire, because there's really no other use for it. Right? It's only what's in your mind. They don't need money. Yeah. They don't need money. NASA doesn't need money because they're by the elite that type the numbers in the computer. It's all about control. It's just about control, right? They're controlling your mind with cartoons on every level.
I love cartoons.
Yeah, but you know what? So do I.
All right. Well, if they're so powerful, if they control everything, one last thing, why haven't people like yourself been silenced? Like, do you know what I mean?
I'm not big enough yet. I'm not big enough, and they can't break our free will. They may try to trap me, right? Here's my biggest fear. Two guys knock at the door. They got a cup of coffee. Hey, we just want to talk to you, Dave. You're making some waves out there. We're gonna give you a house in the islands, right, where you can kite surf from your own yard, and some fruit trees and some chickens and some money. I don't know how I'm going to say no to that. All right.
Yeah.
That's my biggest fear. They can't break our free will. They're not. How many people did George Bush kill? 0. He convinced other order followers to kill other order followers, right? If I convinced one of you to kill each other, that's on you, not on me, right? So they know the karmic influence of breaking free will.
Well, on that note, Dave.
Can't argue with that. That makes sense, yeah.
So here it is. If you Google flat Earth, you're not going to find anything. If you spend 500 hours looking through the garbage online, the turds in the punch bowl, you maybe
you use, Dave? Do you recommend?
Yeah. So in 500 hours, you might find 5 hours worth of content. Well, on my app, in 5 hours, you get 6 hours worth of content. Okay.
Right.
And so the app is $2.99, $3, and it's available on Android. You have to have 8.0 operating system, or Apple iPhone 6 or better. And it's called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app by Blue Water Bay. Don't buy the imitations out there because they stink, but you can, but don't send me an email saying your app sucks. On my YouTube channel, DITRH, lots of short videos, DITRH, the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. And my podcast, Instagram, and Facebook page are The Flat Earth Podcast.
Okay.
Well, Dave,
Right.
I'll let you go on this one. This is a lyric from one of the songs from an Irish artist called Damien Dempsey. You like this one? They'll never kill our will to be free. Inside our minds, we hold the key. I'll leave you with that one, pal.
All right. And I'll leave you with a line from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Yeah, good shit, good
there
shit.
we go.
Oh, man.
There we go, Davey. It's been a pleasure, mate. We have to go away and do some thinking now, but
Yeah.
Contemplate our existence.
I have to say, I did a couple interviews with several Irish podcasters, and you've restored my faith in Irish people, because I thought you were all complete and total idiots after these 3 interviews.
No, just most of us, not all of us.
All right, not all of you, and you guys are, you're a spin instructor, personal trainer. I love it. I used to teach personal train and teach spin too, so it's all good stuff.
There you go.
Look,
So
Dave.
fitness brings us all together.
all the best in your journey. And if you ever get an offer from SpaceX to go for a flight,
It's never going to happen. Straw man argument. It's not going to happen.
for those commercial flights, just make sure you bring a GoPro and get some snaps of that flat Earth for us all. Yeah?
GoPro with the curved lens. Beautiful. Right idea.
All right, mate. I'll see you later. Thanks very
All right,
much.
guys. Thanks.
There's me.